Before we really get into the episode, I just want y'all to know it's not gonna be necessarily unorganized, but I don't have no script. um, I I'm just coming to be real. So y'all not getting it live, but y'all are getting it direct. Hey there, and welcome back or welcome to Choosing Joy. My name is Xavier Khalil, podcast host, creator, all of that. And I'm just really grateful to be here today to record this episode and the many others that'll come after it because I don't know, I'm just feeling like I need to do this now. I feel like I've really been afraid of like stepping into this. That's something to admit. And I don't know how this episode is really gonna flow for me. But what I do know is that I'm gonna come to a resolution. It's gonna help me to propel forward, and it's gonna be a blessing that I'm gonna receive somewhere in this. And maybe it's something that can be shared with somebody else who could be going through a similar situation regarding emotions. And so, by the title of the podcast, this episode is entitled "Making Shake." So, making shake, and it's it's something I felt like I knew all too well, and I do, and that's the problem. And so, kind of walking into this new year, I'm really trying to learn to be easier with myself while still holding myself accountable, but learning to be kinder and easier with myself, being more patient, being more disciplined, so that way I can become consistent. I put a lot of pressure on myself, so I'm gonna just be talking about how I'm switching switching or re I'm so bad with words today, but reframing. There you go. Basically, reframing how I possess alchemy into my life and how I need to flow as a human being. So that's me rambling. That's the beginning of all of this. And I'm gonna really try my best to make sure that I'm very clear and concise and cohesive throughout all of this. And the first thing that helps us get a good tone of where we're headed, especially in my podcast, is the notation for today. And so today's notation, is something I saw on Pinterest. That's pretty much where a lot of these notations are going to come from, Pinterest. I think Pinterest gives me a lot of good quotes that I just can go by that are very relative to me and that I really feel. And this one I feel is going to help me have a very clear direction of where this podcast is going. And it reads, "Dear artists, remember that the opposite of depression is not joy, it's expression. So create, 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 for it is the soul's medicine." I'll read it again, just for emphasis. Remember that the opposite of depression is not joy, it's expression. So create, 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 for it's the soul's medicine. That is ironically the last quote on Pinterest that I saved in my notation tab, and I read it right before pressing record, and I was like, yeah, this is it. When I wrote this episode out originally, when I was coming up with a list of episodes and what I wanted to talk about, I thought I was going to be coming from a place as a student, as a college student who was handed and handled a lot of adversity, and really made a lot of changes trying to find a way out of no way, and how God was in the midst of it all, and how my plan isn't the plan. And to a degree, it's still going to be about that. But I think right now, I just really want to be honest about how I was feeling emotionally in 2024, and just kind of how life really has a way of redirecting you and making you realize what's really important. And the first thing is in 2024, I walked in with that very prosperous New Year rush. I just knew I was going to walk into the new year. I was going to have a great new year. And I just knew that, I was just gonna, it was gonna blow up for me, essentially. I didn't know what, in what regard. I just felt like it was gonna be a really, really good year. And so that's what I walked in with, that lens and that intention. Like, this is gonna be a good year. And I was turning 22, and I still feel like 22 is a good age for me, because 22 has helped me grow a lot. And so I felt like, okay, well, like in this year, it's gonna be a lot of growth. And I just didn't know that I would have experienced all of what I experienced in most of 2024. And the first thing that I experienced was family emergency in the most scariest of ways. Um, a couple of weeks after my grandmother's birthday, she suffered a stroke, a mild stroke, and I got a call from my youngest sister, and it was like at 7 a.m. in the morning. And on the first ring, I just picked up. Something just told me, like, pick up. Because my little sister calling me at 7 a.m. in the morning. She's about to be at school, supposed to be getting ready to walk out the door for school. She doesn't take her phone to school, so she's calling me. And I answered, and she shared the news with me. And, you know, first thing I thought was, wow, this little girl is really strong to be handling this. Then two, I thought my grandmother is in the hospital, and my grandmother, she and I are very close. That's my girl. My granny, that's my girl, man. I love my granny. I'm a granny's baby, like, for real, for real. My granny has pretty much raised me. Been a big part in my life of just nurturing, and just being that one I can go to lean my shoulder on, to cry on, and just, not feel bad about it, and not feel comfortable to be weak around her. um and she finally retired. Like, this was her first year of retirement. um and I was just like, oh my goodness, like, she just caught a break, but now it's like she can't catch a break. And with her stroke, it was a wake up call for the whole family, that, you know things can be one way one day, and then next another. Um, and two, to realize that, my grandmother, as much as we need her, she needs us too. So it's recognizing that as you kind of get older, you gotta be there for each other now, because you're not just the child who can just get. Even though, that's still the relationship between me and my grandmother, and the other grandkids and her kids. It was just, I gotta show up more. And at that point in time, I didn't know how, because here I am in South Carolina still. My family is still in Atlanta. I'm still in South Carolina trying to get my next degree. I'm trying to find a decent job that'll pay a livable wage. I'm trying to start my dream. Um, I'm really just out here trying to make it, and just, I'm young. I don't have resources that some people may have. Um, I don't even like to say this, but, quite. I feel like I'm getting it out the mud. Um, and so I was just stunned, because at the time I was working two jobs. I was working a part time, um, No, no, I'm telling the story. This was later down the line, but at the time it was just a lot. I was working two jobs actually. I was working two jobs. I had to hurry up and get down to Atlanta, and I was just like, how do I show up differently? What does this mean? Um, and so that was one thing. And the next was we experienced loss in the family. 2 months after that, a father figure of my sister and I, um, he was murdered, and I don't know if I've really still kind of let that sink in completely, but it was very tragic. And my heart broke even more for my little sister because I had already lost my biological father. And our father figure, he was always there. So when I did lose my biological father, I leaned on him, I looked to him, and he stepped up a little bit even more. He stepped up a little more, and losing him was just like, it was heartbreaking because for the first time, like, that was somebody that my mother dated. They broke up, but that was somebody who my mother dated, who I actually, for the first time, genuinely liked. But even aside from that, who was just a really nice guy who just really wanted to be there for kids, in a way that we don't hear, or we don't praise a lot of black men enough for doing. How they do step up and do take on the charge of being that fatherly figure, whether that child is biologically theirs or not. And he did that for my sister. He did that for me. He did that for his own biological child. He did that for another child. And there was no steps. There was no, oh, this is my play son, my play. No, like, we were his kids. And so to lose him, and for my sister, who I absolutely love and adore, for her to lose him was just even more heartbreaking. Um, and especially because that was the most consistent father figure that she had. Um, and I really hurt for her. Um, I really hurt for her because she had already been through the there was she had already been through having to take the responsibility of now my grandma. Um, and now she loses a parent, um, somebody who she really trusted and was a confidant. And I was just like, my God, what is going on? Like, what is going on? And I had always been in this mindset of knowing how to make a situation better, but I didn't know how to make a situation better with these things. I mean, I showed up my best self, when my grandmother was in that hospital. Sure, I went up to her and I said, "Girl, you gotta get better. We gotta go to Hawaii. Like, come on now." Like, I was joking with her. That made her, that was amusing to her. For my sister, it was just being there with her, taking her out on little dates, and talking to her, letting her express her feelings. I always let her express her feelings, just showing up a lot more. But I just didn't feel like I was doing enough, and I can kind of admit that I wasn't doing enough. Also in 2024, I was trying to practice self preservation, but to be honest, it got to a point where I was just being outright selfish. And when those situations happen with um with my family, and then I lost the only car that I had now I could borrow and use, until I got a car of my own. I was just like, man, I don't care what nobody else got going on right now. Like, I'm getting whooped. Like, I was planning on dropping out of one program and starting another, which I start today. Whoop whoop. But I was already switching out of one program to the next, and that did a lot to my pride because I never quit anything, especially academic. Um, So to like say like I this ain't for me, I'm a switch. Like I never done that. I had never even thought about switching my major in undergrad. Like so that was completely new for me, and it took a big hit to my pride. Um, the car broke down on me, and I was just like, dang, I can't do nothing right. Ain't nothing going my way, and it broke down on my birthday, and so I was carless. I couldn't even see my family. I couldn't even make it to our father figure's funeral, and that hurt me even more because and I feel like that's kind of why I haven't been able to address it fully because I don't feel like I completely got that closure, which really breaks my heart because I wanted that, and I couldn't even do that. So needless to say, that summer, that late spring and the entire summer, I just I just reverted back to old habits. Um, I'm gonna get into this more in romancing singleness, which is the title of the next episode. Um, but I really fell back into a place where I can remember just feeling like I was under the illusion I was having a good time, but suffering. Um, and it I didn't even realize how like deep in the woods I was in until like I want to say maybe October, November time. Um, I had met someone over the summer, and everyone has flaws, and I was just kind of in a space. For one, I did want partnership, I did want romance, and so I was just kind of like in a space where um, I essentially made myself believe like it doesn't have to be how I always imagine it. Like relax your standards, Zay. Cause I was out here like dude gotta have a degree and at least be on his way to getting a decent job, or at least have a mind that is just like beautiful and intellectual. Like I thought I don't know who I thought I was, but I still think I'm that, but I really thought I was that. To be out here having like out not necessarily outlandish standards, but shoot, these weren't even standards that I could fully match up to yet. Like I'm not even in a comfortable position in my own life um, to be out here saying what kind of standards I want to have, if that makes any sense. Like I'm still trying to get myself together, so I was just like, man, look, we kind of doing a little too much. Like Molly off of Insecure, you low key doing a little too much. Relax. um, just if whoever what will come. Take the and it will be a beautiful experience. Just trust. That's why I made myself believe. So I was like, okay. So one day I was walking my dog, and I met somebody while on my walk with my dog, and we talked and we had a quick conversation, and over time we spent time with one another, built a friendship. Um, we hung out a lot, and we met each other's friends and all the things. And I really did like this person. However, there were things that I did notice in the beginning that I chose to ignore. My financial situation is not perfect, but I keep up with everything. Everything gets paid on time, credit score is getting better, like, things like that. This individual just wasn't there yet, and I was gracious enough to like overlook that because I was like, shoot, I'm not perfect. I'm trying. Shoot, this just could be a bad moment in their life. It's fine. So, still keeping it going. Then I also learned that kind of our view on life. I'm very optimistic. I have a very optimistic view of life. I believe that there is good in people, while also realizing that there is bad in people. I do believe that situations can be made better. And regardless of how the world treats you, you still lead the world in your heart with kindness and with love and respect. That's me. Um, while on his was the complete opposite. It was like, um, the world's not kind. If the world's not kind to you, don't be kind to the world. Sort of mindset. Um, don't don't try and pretty much make a way for other people if they're not making a way for you. Like, don't be supportive. If somebody's not supporting you, don't be supportive of them. Which to a degree I understand, but it's just like if somebody's in need of something, like why not support them if you have it to provide? And that, let's say that individual didn't do anything wrong with you, to you necessarily. Why would you deny them of that? Um, just because others in your life who you trusted to do that for you didn't do that doesn't mean that you should deny kindness to the next individual. And there were just a lot of things that we didn't align on, but because the chemistry was great, because I was so blinded by lust and I thought I was actually gonna like be falling in love with this individual. Um, it just didn't work out. And I found myself participating in a friends with benefits type of situation, just to kind of give even better context. Like, found myself, doing something I said I never would do. I said I never would do the friends with benefits thing, and I did it, and it blew up right in my face. But I showed up for this person a lot, regardless of their financial situation. I really tried my best to show up for them. I forgot completely about my family and what we had going on, mind you. I was so caught up in like this dude and what he had going on and wanting to make his life better and being stupid. And I'm trying to make shit shake in his life while simultaneously trying to get my car, trying to, get my savings up, my finances up, I was in the middle of trying to buy equipment for the podcast. Like, I was working on so many things, and I was just like, I just want to like be there for him. Like, I just want to be there. Like he need me. Like, he don't got nobody else. He need me. Like, uh. So I'm sitting there, like I said, trying to make things happen. And there was no reciprocity. And after a while, I kind of loosened the reins. And I was like, look, you know, the chemistry is dope, but low key, like, I was falling out of attraction with him. I was like, yeah, you just gonna be a friend. Like, we're gonna get together, we're gonna smoke. We'll cook. You'll cook one night. I'll cook one night. Whatever the case is, but we're not, yeah. Trying to be here for you in that regard, and trying to just do all the things I was doing relationship things, and not being in a relationship with you, and then also not even being treated like the type of friend I was treating him. Yeah, nah, I'm kind of dead that. And so I did. And then over time, ended up moving under unfortunate circumstances. And that was kind of the end of that. Um, After he moved, I found out some pretty sobering information, and I will leave that for you to do what you will. And I was just, like, nah. Like, I first of all, let me make sure I'm good. Number one. Number two, do I even want to continue this relationship? And if I don't, how do I end it? Now, mind you, I'm always thinking, like, how do I handle things graciously? How do I get my point across? How do I make this happen the way I want it to happen? I've always been like that. I've always been like, how do I make it happen how I want it to happen? Um, and I'm realizing now, kind of, and this is just me admitting, like, I've had an issue in the past, just kind of like letting God do his thing, just letting God control the situation, and me doing my part in it as best I can, having control over my emotions, my words, my heart, and just letting God allow it to do the thing. And so, I waited some time because I just felt like to be put in that in a situation where your trust is betrayed, essentially. and to not get any sort of compassion or remorse from an individual, and you've shown up for them in ways that you would expect others to show up for you, or not even necessarily expect, but you show up for them in a really great way. But I think this was my first time actually realizing, like, people don't he had been preaching to me, he would always preach, like, people don't care about you. The world's not going to care about you. People aren't going to care how good you are. And now it's clicking for me, like, shoot, he was probably trying to warn me about people because he's people. It. Oh man, hold on, wait. I gotta drink some water to that because wait. How y'all do that? Mm. Mm. Ooh, I'm pissed now. Cause I ain't see it before. I see it now. You low-key warning me about folks like him, whatever. And I was like, okay, um, I'm a call him. I'm a call him. I'm a, let him know how I feel and let him know, like, this friendship is over. That's how it was gonna go in my mind. That's how it was gonna go in my mind. I called, some friends of mine. I called family, just to see, like, would I be tripping? And they was like, "No, say go do what you need to do." Okay, bet. Dialed dialed him up, and he was at work at the time. I did offer to call back because I didn't want to ruin your work day. Because I mean, I'm not gonna call this phone to be on here arguing, but I'm also not coming on here to, like, brighten your day necessarily. I'm not trying to ruin it, but I'm not trying to brighten it either. I'm letting you know, like, this is me exiting. And so, but he still wanted to talk. And in our conversation, I pretty much let him know outright, like, I feel like you didn't ever care to show compassion towards me. That was never your intention. Or maybe it was your intention. Maybe you've just been through a lot that you don't really, I don't know if you know how to give it back, but you definitely lacked in it. And it hurt my feelings. And I feel like, that I'm not owed an apology, but I do feel like, I deserve some level of, like, compassion, some level of respect, like something to show that you care, basically. And it's nothing materialistic. I need to see, like, you care. And in that conversation, basically, he was just like, "You just want me to say I'm sorry," and I was like, I would be lying to say that I wouldn't be expecting it, but I'm not gonna ask you for it. But at the same time, if we were friends, and you know friends are supposed to be there for one another, and I showed up for you and you didn't show up for me like that, like, I I don't want to continue this friendship. And then you told me I was being, like, over dramatic, all the things, and basically what I translated that to was like, you don't want to admit how you wronged me, but you want to remain to have access to me. You want to be able to call my phone and, us talk, FaceTime, and hang up after. Nah, this ain't that. Unfortunately, you really crossed the line. It was a boundary that was already, like, made known, and I felt disrespected. And then for when I call you to express, my feelings, and how, like, what this situation did for me, and how I have to pretty much move on. Now you're essentially gaslighting me, and making it seem as if I'm, like, the issue is with myself. Partially, you're not wrong. He wasn't wrong. The issue, there was a level of accountability that I had to take in that, because I did revert back to a lot of BS that, I knew wasn't good for me. Number one, but then also number two, like, you just didn't have enough kindness in your heart to say, I was wrong and I am sorry. So after doing that for about 30 minutes or so, I luckily got a call from my line brother, and I said, "Look, my LB calling, and I'll call you back." And I never called back. We never talked again. And in that situation, I was like, I'm not trying too hard for love. I'm not trying too hard to be in someone's life. I'm not trying to make things happen for somebody who don't want things to happen for themselves. Like, that's exhausting. I spent a lot of my energy that I didn't have to, and it was irritating, and it was all sobering at the same time because I was so drunk in, like, being young and turn again, because I was very serious in 2023. So 2024, I was like, I'm gonna just be young and turn, but like I've outgrown all of that. Like, I mean, I still am young and turn. I am fun, but I'm more goal focused and goal oriented right now. And so, like, the lackadaisical sort of attitude, I can't hold on to that no more. And especially, I can't be around with individuals who carry that sort of attitude, not only just on their outlook on life, but also on how they treat people. Like, that's not cool. And so I was like, well, moving on from this situation, what do I do now? I work my butt off. I save up for this podcast. And yeah. But that was me trying to make things happen because I've always been like, I gotta produce something. I gotta do something. Cause I was out of school at the time. I was working multiple jobs. And so I was just like, I gotta do something with my time. I gotta do something with my hands. Like, and shoot, the podcast is what we need. It's what I need to focus on. My grandmother's speech was getting better, so I was getting updates from my family about her progression. My little sister, she would call me more and more. A lot of times, just to hear my voice, or for me to hear her voice, and I would do the same. Um, and I think it did a lot for her emotionally. But sometimes she would talk to me and call me more, and give me some real heavy things to talk about because she needs that. Um, my mother, she's doing well. We ended up having some turbulence as well, but not nothing too crazy like in the past. But we you know we had a little bit of conflict, not much, but just a little, and we were getting better. Um, I just didn't really feel like I needed to think about my family. I definitely wasn't thinking about love at this point. I mean, now mind you, I was heartbroken. I was, really battling with lust, really battling with lust, and still battling with lust. Man, I'm making myself crack up today. I promise y'all I'm not crazy. I'm just being real, bro. So, I mean, I just felt like, I was like, I need to keep my eye on the prize. Like, obviously, the prize is the podcast. The prize is money. My family's good. My friends are good. We don't see each other as much anymore. We don't need that type of relationship. We're good. But there was still a lack of fulfillment that I was feeling. I thought it was the job. This job, like, it's not. I feel like I have pointless conversations. It's too corporate. It's not how my other job was, and that's a whole other conversation for another day. It's not like how my other job was, and I was just frustrated with that. Um, and then I was like, I'm not making enough money. I'm not doing enough. I'm spending too much, which was true. But I'm spending too much. I'm not working out. I was really hard on myself. Like, there were things I was doing. Like, I was surviving well, but I was frustrated with myself for not living. So many light bulb moments in this episode. God, this was necessary. but but yeah, there was. I just wasn't living. I was just surviving, and I was praying every day in my journal out of routine. Um, I I was really like in this robotic state, zombified. Um, I felt like Squidward in that one episode. Or like Larry from The Amazing World of Gumball. I go to sleep, I wake up, I go to work, I go home. Like, however he said it, like, you know what I mean. And I just wasn't doing more. And I remember Thanksgiving came, and I remember just having like this level of excitement I hadn't felt since I was a child. I'm going to go see my family. I'm going to see my family. And I was like, oh, that's when it clicked. I was like, oh, I ain't seen my family in this part of South Carolina. I ain't seen them or been there in a year. Dang, that was sobering. That was sobering to admit too. And so it was this level of excitement that I was excited for because I missed my family. Um, and I just had another light bulb moment, but I'm gonna make a correlation in just a second. So hold on. Missed my family. Went down there for Thanksgiving. I wasn't with my immediate family. I was with my extended family, and had an amazing time down there. I really enjoyed the feeling of just being with my family again. So that was that part. And when Christmas came, I remember feeling like this overwhelming amount of like relief, excitement, joy, anxiety. When I went home to Atlanta for so many reasons, and I just I was just grateful to be with my family, and it clicked for me there. And when I went to go see my friends, a couple of days after in Florida for like to celebrate the new year and my LB's birthday and his move to Florida, um, I was like, this is what I've been missing. I've been missing my family. I've been missing my true sense of love. I have been reaching out and trying to look for love and look for validation and security in so many other places when in 2024 God was showing me like put your attention back to your family. Put your attention back to where I give you love in the greatest form, in its purest form on earth, your family. I am blessed to have a good family that loves me. And too many times I take that for granted. And I'm having a moment of relief right now because I finally admit that. Oh man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. It was just a moment to I just had a moment to realize like, okay, work is good. Keep at it. Saving money is good. Keep at it. Romance is beautiful. It's beautiful to experience. Keep praying and hoping and trusting that it'll happen. But don't forget the things that already exist, that are here in the physical, that we can still choose to exist and experience. Choose that. Choose choose that joy. For 2024, man, I was just chasing happy. I really wasn't choosing joy. I was chasing happiness. I was chasing cheap thrills. I was chasing cheap moments. I wasn't choosing joy. Choosing joy was just something I was trying to accomplish, the name of a podcast. But it wasn't something I was actively challenging myself on. And that really hurts to admit. From everything that happened at the beginning of the year for 2024, my grandmother and our father figure, I realized God was pointing my attention to like, love them, show up, make shit happen with that. The Lord wouldn't curse, but make things happen with that. Make shake with that. So I'm now like I was already feeling it in my heart, but I'm now realizing like I I can't afford to have childish experiences anymore. I kept saying in like the later end of 2023, the beginning parts of 2024, like I felt like it was time for me to like step up. That I was entering a season of maturity, that, it was something that I was really excited about. I didn't feel nervous about it, which was a good thing because I think God had really prepared me for it, or was still in the middle of preparing me for it. But now that I realize it, I've I ran away from it, but it's something about really taking that and embracing that and stepping into that fully that is doing it for me. I am really, really thankful for this opportunity to just kind of like y'all have to give God glory right now in grace. And I mean, well, give God the glory um, for His grace and His mercy on me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I had fallen in such a deep depression that I was really all too familiar with, and I didn't want to feel like what it felt like to be back there, and I felt it, and it was so sobering. That's the word of the episode, sobering. Everything about it was sobering because one, in that depression, I realized one, you still have the opportunity to live. Number one. Number two, you still have the opportunity to get out of this. We tired of just surviving. We want to live, and we want to with live this life beautifully and giving that love back to those who give it to us, to give it to me. And that's just kind of like me talking to me. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna show up. I don't know how I'm gonna show up, but I'm gonna show up. Like, I think the perfect example of me showing up now is like I'm going home to go spend the weekend with my little sister. That's my girl. Like, I'm taking her to see 3 movies, as I should. um, one with Kiki and Kiki Palmer and SZA. They're my girls. So I can't wait to see that with her. Um, Going home more to visit my families, whether it's in the lower part of South Carolina or in Atlanta, going to see my family more, prioritizing those relationships, keeping up consistency in my health so I can show up for the podcast, so I can show up for school, so I can show up, to look for another job, or show up to my current job. Great. Like, this is a this is the time where I really do things differently. You know what I mean? It's just a time where I really embrace the fact, number one, that I'm grown. Um, and also embrace the fact that I am ready, mature enough, and able to handle the things that God gives me. Um, and to not give up on that faith. Because 2024 really did test my faith, and I'm glad that I held on to it because it was really the only thing that I had. And I'm thankful for trusting the Lord right now to do this episode because it's healing. this has been a very healing episode for me. And I really pray that it's healing for you as well. And I know some of the things that I talked about in here were pretty vague because there's a lot of situations that are just very private. And I'm still learning to be very transparent, especially because I'm posting on the internet. But with all of that being said, thank y'all for watching this episode. Thank y'all for hearing me yap again. Because it's like, 45 minutes long? Yes. OD. But I thank y'all for just being here on the journey. Like, this is the journey. Like, this is right here as real as it gets for me. I really try and put on a really polished front on like online on my social media, but I just I don't feel the point in doing that anymore, especially not right now, not for this. I thank y'all so much just for supporting. Thank y'all for the support, big, small. I thank you for the support of this podcast, and like I said, I really hope and pray that this episode has been healing for you. And with that being said, I'm done talking. I'm done taking up your time. Be blessed, take it easy, and remember, no matter how hard the day, try your very best to choose joy. Take care.